Hi, everybody, and welcome to another amazing episode of Men and Curt Till It Hurts, the culture cast caught at the crossroads of curation and castration. And this week, it's a lot of curation and probably a lot of castration, too.
Castrating 2017.
Yep. I'm Ben.
I'm Curt.
Do we introduce ourselves every week?
I don't know if we do that anymore.
I don't think we do. And this week, how you been, Curt?
Yeah, pretty solid.
Yeah.
Losing my voice. Hopefully it lasts for the duration of this podcast.
I have faith in you.
How have you been?
I've been pretty good. The baby's still good.
Good.
Everything's great.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, I'm just in I'm in a haze of joy pretty much 24/7.
That's good.
That's not exactly true, but I do. It does unlock new types of happiness.
Yeah,
is what I've noticed, which is a really weird. I would not have expected that to be the case.
You broke the ceiling.
I just zoomed right through the ceiling of my Fortress of Solitude and brought the Crystal Palace crashing to the ground.
Wow. I'm like hunkered in the basement of my Fortress of Solitude. We're getting into that awful part of winter where it's just fucking freezing. It's been like -19 here.
Yeah.
I'm dying.
Yeah. It was better today.
Yeah.
But for weeks, literally weeks before this, it's just been an absolute nightmare.
We had during that giant snowstorm we had a week or so ago, I was outside doing some shoveling before bed, and I was just like, this is the apocalypse. This is what it's going to look like. It's just everything's just white and I can't see anything.
Yeah. Every morning when I would drive into work, I would hear on the radio things that felt like they were from like one of those disaster movies. It felt like it was a deleted scene from The Day After Tomorrow, where it's like, another record low today. We've got a snowstorm coming on Saturday. And yeah, it really felt like something really bad was going to happen. But nothing bad happened as far as I know.
Yeah, I even personally, none of that bad winter stuff personally happened to me. I never lost power, pipes never froze, never ran out of oil.
Yeah.
Getting some adulting done. Really got to pat myself on the back for that.
Yeah. But this is such a big country, right? Because while it's been frozen north up here, California has literally been on fire. Right? We've got the two poles, the two sides of the country are in two different types of hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And now the mudslides have claimed 13 lives.
What a time to be alive.
It's truly. Anyway, media, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, culture.
That's
what we're here to talk about today. The things that distract us from the world falling apart around our heads. And last week we did our top 10 albums of 2017. This week we are doing 2017 in visual media. Now that includes both interactive and non-interactive visual media. So we're talking video games, TV shows, movies, fucking web series. If you watched a web series that you really liked, that could make it on here. Yeah, so that's what we're talking about today.
Yeah. I personally, I don't really. My head is so in music most of the time, and YouTube channels. So for me, I don't even. If we had limited this to video games that came out this year, I would I have nothing.
Would have had nothing. Yeah, same.
Yeah, so
same. I don't think I played through 10 video games this year.
I looked. I played one new video game this year.
What was it?
Resident Evil 7.
Nice.
It was okay. So
yep.
That's my review. Now that won't take any time at all.
That one's done. That one's under the table. All right. Do we want to just jump right in?
Yeah, go for it. Why don't you get us into it?
All right. My number 10 is a video game called Nier Automata, which I may have mentioned.
I believe I have heard of this game.
I may have mentioned this video game a couple times. It's a cool game, Yeah. It's real unique. Nothing else quite like it. It takes that indie energy that's very interested not just in making a fun game, but in commenting on video games as a medium as a whole, the history of video games. It takes that indie energy and puts it into a full-fledged, three-dimensional, proper video game, right? Like a video game like you read about. A video game like they talk about on Reddit, right? That kind of video game. What a middle schooler expects when they hear video game. Like the thing after Minecraft in their head. You say video game, a middle schooler thinks, oh, that's Minecraft. Minecraft is video games.
Right.
But right after that, it's like, oh, Nier Automata also matches that description. It's a real good game. What's your number 10?
I did not rank them.
That's fine.
There was a miscommunication.
That's okay. I may have said not to rank them.
I don't think
I ranked them last minute.
I don't think that was the case. So I guess looking quickly, not last October, but the October of 2016, I started. That was when I got super into my October horror movies, and I started buying all the Universal monster films on Blu-ray because I'm like a sucker for like packaging. Like if like the movie is the most important thing, and then the special features are nice and kind of like third, but still very important to me is if I buy the whole set, do they all look identical? That's big for me. And these do. They all look the same, and they all have cool like slip covers that go over them. So I was doing that, and that kind of triggered for the rest of the next year. I've been kind of getting back into movies a little bit more. Usually I'm mostly like a music guy first, and then video games, and movies are kind of like, oh, I'll fucking watch Major Payne again. But
get some Chinese food.
Yeah. Oh God. Boy howdy.
Good times.
But I like movies a lot too. So I have kind of been using 2017 as a way to like focus on buying movies that I feel like I'm missing, or movies that I should have seen. And a lot of them I have bought on Blu-ray, because that's kind of like, I like DVDs, and I don't think there's anything wrong with DVDs or VHS tapes, but I think when you really like a film, you know, with the exception of a few films, the best way to enjoy it is to buy the Blu-ray. That's the optimal resolution and all the special features that they pack onto them. So I've been doing a lot of that over the past year, just like, oh man, they put out a really sick version of Godzilla on Blu-ray. I'm going to pick that up, and I'm going to watch 6 hours of special features about Godzilla before I watch it on Blu-ray. So that's pretty much mine. I don't know if I'm trying to look at my Blu-rays, and I don't think there are any particular. The only one that I bought that I'm like super stoked about is Eraserhead. I've been waiting forever to get that on Blu-ray because it's Criterion, so it's like $30.
Yeah. I
finally found a used one. I've just been watching it over and over.
You've been watching Eraserhead over and over again.
Yes and no.
Okay.
I have watched it more than once, but a lot of that is like I haven't been able to watch it uninterrupted, so I've just been watching segments of it like over and over and over for the past.
So, are you okay? Is my next natural question.
You know, I am happy and sad that I can't say too much about Eraserhead, because I know at some point I want to do a David Lynch series. We've talked about this. I love Eraserhead. I think it is a very special film. I don't want to get too much into it,
I'm real excited to watch Eraserhead now as a father.
Yeah, I don't know if that's as good.
That's advisable. The little Cornish game hen is clearly some kind of child.
Everything is clearly something in that movie, but it's just not clear what that thing is.
Yeah, well, it's not clear, but it's clear in like dream logic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, we gotta put this away. We're doing David Lynch next. Yeah. I'm deciding it right now. We'll talk about what we're doing next week, but after that, it's Lynch. It's Lynch all the way down.
So what's your next one?
Oh, it's a video game called Prey.
Yeah, we talked about Prey.
I talked about this a little bit. I like it quite a bit. I don't like it as much as many other people like it. For instance, I don't like the story very much. It's like boilerplate sci-fi thriller stuff.
Yeah.
But the environment design in that game is terrific. Just the design of the spaces that you walk into, and the way they reuse the same rooms over and over again. It's one big open space station, and your objectives take you between the same areas, the same levels, quite a few times often.
Similar to Metroid, kind of?
Very similar to Metroid.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. But the objectives are a little more RPG-ish.
Sure.
You have like an objective screen, whereas in Metroid you usually have one place that you naturally would go next. In Prey it's not quite like that, but Metroid-esque. And what happens is they change every time you go to the level. It will have new enemies there, or very rarely does the actual level geometry change significantly, but the way it looks changes pretty drastically at times, and it keeps it fresh, for most of the playthrough. I got a little fatigued towards the end,
Yeah.
It's that same thing you were talking about with Wolfenstein, The New Order, where you get towards the end of a video game and I'm done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty much done at this point. I have a little more to slog through, but I feel like I've seen pretty much everything this game has to show me. But yeah, Prey, very good video game.
Awesome. I'll use that as a bridge to mention Wolfenstein. I have been super into that this year, and similar to how my experience with Far Cry, I saw the trailer for Wolfenstein 2, and I was like, that looks like a game that I need in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But I never played one, so I grabbed the first one because at this point it's a few years old and it's pretty cheap. And I don't know how much I've talked about it on the podcast or just with you, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. I would get frustrated with it, and I'd have to put it down for a while because it's not the type of game that I usually play, so I don't like getting stuck at those types of hurdles where you just like, oh, I get fucking blown up again. Like, I'll go this way this time.
There's a lot of that in Prey also, actually.
And so I beat that, and right like a week after I beat it, Christmas came around, and my brother bought me Wolfenstein 2. So that was cool because I was, by the time, hope Luke's not listening, by the time I beat Wolfenstein, I was like, yeah, that's cool, but I think now I can definitely wait, because especially I bought the one that came with the Old Blood. It was like a 2-pack. Yeah. So I played a little bit of the Old Blood, and I didn't really like it that much. And then I got Wolfenstein 2, and I was like, oh, well, I'll wait a little bit to play this. But then, I was home for 2 weeks with nothing to do, so I started playing it, and it's good, but I've just hit... They're so similar. I've just hit that point where I've just, like, I've had enough of this, even though it's not unenjoyable.
Yeah.
I just need to not do that for a little bit. But I do highly recommend it if you have a current gen console.
I picked it up on your recommendation.
Did you?
Yeah.
You played it at all?
It was on the Steam sale. No, I haven't played it yet. Yeah. But look forward, podcast listeners, look forward to hearing about that at some point.
Episode.
For me, yeah, Wolfenstein. Oh, man, I could talk for a little while about that original Wolfenstein. I won't do it here and now, but we could do a full Wolf 3D episode.
Yeah.
You play that game and you're disappointed in video games because it's like they're just the same thing as this. They fundamentally haven't changed in 25 years, is what I'm saying. Yeah, and then you look at Doom and it's like, this is actually better than most current video games. Like, Wolf 3D is about the same level as most. It's a fucking maze. You run through it. Anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent here.
Yeah.
My next game is What Remains of Edith Finch. The list is very front-loaded with video games. It's actually mostly loaded with video games now that I look at it.
It's all video games.
It's all video games. There's three movies on this. 2 movies on this list. 3 movies. What Remains of Edith... Cut that out.
Nope, that's all.
What you could do is you could edit that to make it sound like I did that for a minute. I think you're... Now I'll cut this out, and that will be 4 minutes of 2. No,
3 movies.
3 movies. My next video game is What Remains of Edith Finch. I think I talked about this on the podcast a little bit, but the moment that I knew that What Remains of Edith Finch was something pretty special was when I was playing it, and it was like, oh shit, this is as good as Gone Home. That feeling doesn't continue throughout the whole game.
Yeah.
But for even to get me to think that something is almost as good as Gone Home is quite a feat, because Gone Home is one of the greatest games ever made. What Remains of Edith Finch is sort of a puzzle box game, like a story game. You're in first person, but you're walking through environments and looking at them, and you're hearing a little story, and you're seeing a little story through the environment. People leave detritus all over the place. I'm not pointing at your room because it's particularly littered with detritus or anything, but your detritus is all very well like manicured and laid out.
Thank you.
But like if you weren't around anymore and someone came into your house and just like looked around and then walked into this room, I think they would get a pretty good idea of what you're like.
Yes.
Do you agree about that?
I don't know if it would pick up on the anxiety.
No, that whole shelf full of Ninja Turtles figurines says anxiety to me pretty strongly.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think that's kind of the point of games like Gone Home and What Remains of Edith Finch, is that people leave themselves in the rooms in which they live. And video games are great at a lot of things, like shooting and hitting, but they're also very good at being explorable, interactive environments, even only lightly interactive environments. So a lot of modern games, like Gone Home and What Remains of Edith Finch, have started to explore this design space, and it's turning out that there's like a whole new genre of video games contained in this design space that people are discovering, and it's so exciting to watch them discover it. So yeah, What Remains of Edith Finch. I highly recommend that video game. I played it with my sister.
Oh,
so it was
nice.
a lot of fun.
Shout out
Casey.
Casey.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show. Guest of the show.
Inventor of Texorcism.
Yes.
Thank you for that, Casey.
If you never do anything else, I hope you do. But Texorcism might be the most important thing you ever do, Casey. I'm sorry that it happened at such a young age.
I'm sorry you have to hear about it like this.
Let's see. I'll go with another video game. I played The Evil Within this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I have an interesting... This is a little bit embarrassing. I don't know if I've said this on the podcast, but I had the game because it was given to me. And I was thinking about playing it, and then I didn't, and someone told me that it was similar kind of to like Resident Evil 4. And I said, I'm listening.
That's a Mikami game, right? The same guy who directed
know.
Resident Evil 4, I believe, did The Evil Within. But anyway.
That is possible.
Dangerous for someone to tell you that a game is like Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, and so I said, all right, cool. And it was, I knew it was a horror game, which I don't usually play too often. But I stayed up late one night. This was a while ago. This was way before this year. And when I lived in my old apartment. And I played like 15 minutes of it, and I was just like, nope, too scary. Full-grown man, too scared to play this game. And then at some point this year, I just got sick of seeing it on my shelf. Or I think the same person that said I would think it was like Resident Evil 4 was like, yeah, I guess you can just go play Resident Evil 4 again. And I was like, well, I guess I can't, can I? I need to play The Evil Within. And I enjoyed that. I actually thought it was I don't play a lot of horror games, but to me it was pretty scary. I don't know how it holds up if you're a horror game guy, but I thought it was pretty good. It was pretty solid. I played it all the way through. When I was a kid, I would beat any game just on principle. I didn't have a lot of games to choose from. I had a lot of free time. Mm-hmm. That combination made it so I could play any game. But now, a game has to be like at least a decent 7 out of 10 for me to like play the whole thing and not hate myself afterward. So I played that, and I would play it again, but the interesting thing about The Evil Within is that they introduce you to the concepts in the game so slowly, because it's a pretty challenging game, that when you start it over again, to play it again, so much, and they don't let you do anything. It's really hard to like slow yourself down that much. The beginning of the game is designed to like teach you how to hide from things and run away from things, and rather than at the end when your character's built up and you have a lot of weapons.
You're jacked up.
I liked it a lot. I might try to play it again, or the second one came out.
Yeah,
so maybe
I heard Evil Within 2 was pretty good.
I haven't heard anything about it. Which usually I feel like means it'll be like overwhelmingly all right. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
What's your next one?
My next one is War for the Poda. It's a movie. It's War for the Planet of the Apes.
Oh,
I
right.
abbreviated
I don't know how
it.
I didn't.
No, you shouldn't have understood what I was saying. I abbreviated it in my notes here, and I just think that War for the Poda sounds like a pretty decent thing all on its own.
Yeah.
War for the Planet of the Apes. We did a whole episode about War for the Planet of the Apes. Sort of. We did a third of an episode about War for the Planet of the Apes.
I didn't know that.
What?
I don't remember that.
You don't remember doing our Planet of the Apes show?
No.
We watched all 3 of the modern Planet of the Apes movies.
All right.
If you say so.
That's cool.
Do you have a twin brother wandering around somewhere that I don't know about?
I hope not.
Where is he locked up in the room? Is he inside of that Meowth doll?
He is the Meowth
He's
doll.
If I go back and listen to that episode, it's just my voice. I'm like, that's a very good point, Meowth. That's right. The CGI is excellent. Meowth, I'm glad you brought that up.
Isn't it, though?
It is really good. Do you remember seeing the movie?
I do remember seeing it, and I do remember loving it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we talked about how much we loved it.
Well, that's good. I still do. It was my favorite movie from this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. What's the title of that episode? Anyway, we'll do some fucking detective work after this, because now I'm freaking out a little bit, and I actually do, like, I fantasized about it strongly enough just now that I actually do remember seeing the Meowth doll sitting in the chair, sitting in your chair while I talked and talked.
One
and
of
talked.
us is not okay.
Well, you're the one who's been watching Eraserhead over and over again.
That is true.
Yeah. Anyway, War for the Planet of the Apes. Go listen to the episode that might exist.
Yeah,
might
we'll
not.
find out. Yeah, I love that movie.
It's an amazing movie.
I find that who knows? Maybe I said this on the podcast, but I walked away from it feeling kind of a little strange, because it's hard to it's hard to have that emotion for that long and be like, that was a good movie, but I'm very sad. The longer I sat, I mean, I knew I liked it immediately, but the longer I sat on it and gave it the rest of the year, I've just really, really liked it.
Yeah, a few things really stick with me. The last shot in that movie is pretty incredible.
Yeah,
that the composition with Caesar, spoiler alert, Caesar laying down and dying right there on that hill while everybody else makes it to the promised land was just beautiful.
For me, spoiler alert, I think the whole scene with the avalanche, I think, was probably my favorite and most memorable scene in the film.
Yeah, and everything with Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
What a great actor.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Another game.
Yeah.
Resident Evil 7.
Mm-hmm.
This is a thing that I do. I have a tendency to say things suck or are bad or I don't like them, and then I'm like, yeah, it's okay though. I can solidly shit on something for months at a time and then just be like, yeah, it was a pretty good game, I've played that. And that's kind of where I've come with Resident Evil 7. I do remember saying that I felt like I played an experience and not a game, and I still feel like that, but I feel like I would be willing to experience that experience again, and I would never, ever play Resident Evil 5 or 6 ever again. So
until the Resident Evil series that we're doing.
Oh, God.
I know. That's going to be a rough one.
Can we at least cram all the side games into one episode?
We can watch YouTube playthroughs of those.
Resident Evil Dead Aim gets its own 2-hour episode.
We're only doing the numbered mainline Resident Evil games, but we're doing all of those.
Okay. What about Code Veronica?
Nope.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
taking
in the middle. That's a gray area.
Taking a hard line against Code Veronica.
I love it.
You love my hard line, or you love Code Veronica?
The hard line.
Okay.
I've never beaten Code Veronica.
I've never played it.
Well, we should do it. Yeah, I enjoyed Resident Evil 7 looking back. It was okay when I was playing it. There are things that I think I could get out of it if I played it again. And I plan on... I haven't sold my copy of it, so I'll probably play it again. I can't highly recommend it, but it was pretty alright.
I might own that game.
Yeah?
I should probably play it at some point.
It's... I hate... Sometimes your knowledge of video games is a curse, because you'll point things out that I have never noticed, and then just you've mentioned before how oftentimes the first part of a video game is designed to be the best part, and then it kind of trails off.
Yeah.
And Resident Evil 4, 7, everything about Resident Evil 7, promotionally, was the first 20 minutes of that game. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of it is, even what I remember, is mostly the first 20 minutes of the game.
It's really amazing how much promotional materials for video games impact how you feel about them after you play them.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder, man. Really fucking makes you wonder about what this whole video game thing is about.
Do we play games, or do the games play us, Ben?
Shit.
Yep, that Resident Evil 7.
My favorite theory about Resident Evil 7 came from when Griffin McElroy on the Polygon Besties podcast, where he said that Resident Evil 7 is like a run-through of all the Resident Evil games up to that point, even insofar as it begins to suck towards the end, like 5 and 6.
Okay. We're at some point we're gonna have to do. Well, I mean, if we're gonna do a Resident Evil series, we can do it at the end. But we need to do a Resident Evil wrap up where we just collectively think about the whole franchise.
Yeah.
I'm not wasting any more breath on Resident Evil 7 tonight.
No. All right. My next thing is another movie. Actually, 2 movies in a row for me. It's a little movie called Get Out.
Yeah.
Tight fucking movie.
So disappointed I didn't see it.
You didn't get to see it?
I didn't get a chance.
Have you watched
to see
it yet at all?
No.
Man.
I haven't seen it.
You should watch Get Out.
People, and it's, one of the more popular movies that came out this year. And it came out in like February too, right? So like for a movie to have that much staying power throughout the course of the year.
Yeah.
Pretty solid.
Yeah, it was like one of the great horror movies of the year. Yeah. Of the past several years, in fact. From, I believe, Jordan Peele was a first-time director? Or was that Keegan-Michael Key who did that one? I believe it was Jordan Peele.
I think it was Peele.
I believe it was Peele. I can never keep those 2 guys straight. I don't know why. I never see their names along with them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that's the issue. But yeah, what an amazing movie. Really, it kind of defined the tone of the conversation around race this year. Like, it started things out at a high level, and then the whole Donald Trump thing happened, right? Well, it happened in 2016, but, like, it really started fucking happening, you know? Yeah. And I think Get Out helped to define the tone of the conversation around Twitter a little bit this year. So, thank you for making that movie, director of Get Out, who I believe is Jordan Peele.
Yeah. I really hope we can.
I'm gonna look that up. I can't afford to be fucking. Fine. I can't afford to be.
I really hope we can stay away from like race riots in 2018.
I hope they happen.
Oh, okay.
I'm taking an opposite stance.
You think we got to get it out of the way?
It was Jordan Peele.
We got to tackle
the thing that hits off the race riot is not going to be me mixing up 2 black men's names. I was worried about that. Thought maybe that's going to be what's going to kick it off. Look, if the thing that it's going to take. I go back to the Trayvon Martin thing,
sure.
Right? I think, not to take this too deeply political right now, but we're still at a point where people feel 2 different ways about Trayvon Martin's killing by George Zimmerman. There is only one appropriate way to feel about that. That is not an issue that a nation cannot sustain a false divide like that. A divide that has been foisted upon us by outside forces? I don't know. That's not a real debate.
Yep.
Was George Zimmerman wrong to kill an unarmed teenager, or was he right to kill it? Hear me out. Maybe he was right to kill an unarmed teenager in cold blood, fucking shoot him dead. No, there's no world in which George Zimmerman is not one of the most evil human beings to ever live, all right? And the fact that about 50% of the nation thinks that he was totally justified to murder a teenager in cold blood tells me that there's something wrong and that maybe a riot is what we need.
My favorite part was when people defended him, and then he doubled down and tried to auction the gun that he used.
Didn't he successfully auction the gun?
I'm sure somebody.
I don't think anybody stopped him from doing that horrible thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what it is? We're going political.
Let's do it.
Fuck. All right, here we go.
All right.
So this is similar to what I said about the president and Hillary Clinton last week, where the president will do something, and then you've already decided what side you're on, and now you need to spin it so it's a good thing, or spin it so that it means the apocalypse is tomorrow.
Yep.
And that is when anything like that happens, you already know what side you're on for a lot of people, and facts don't matter. You just need to say whatever you can say, because you, in any argument, are going to side with the police or not. I think that's a lot of it. Everyone likes to think, I think, that they're a centrist. Nobody likes to say, oh man, I'm crazy in this direction.
Can't wait to reopen those gulags.
Yeah, I'm unreasonably, leaning this way. But that being said, I do think I'm a centrist. I try to just get as much information as I can before I take to the internet and start brigading. But
I make a lot of snap judgments, but I try to admit when I'm wrong.
Yeah, and when did that happen? 2 years ago, 2015.
Trayvon
Martin. I don't know.
4 or 5. I think it might have been 2012 or 2013.
Yeah.
It was a long time. Long enough that we know all the relevant facts. And we know that George Zimmerman is a fucking shitheel.
All I can say is that in the amount of time we've had to learn and process this situation, nothing has happened that has made anyone go, maybe we pegged that guy wrong.
Yeah. Also, anyone who defends George Zimmerman, also an irredeemable shitheel, unless they change their minds. I'm ready to open my arms to anyone who's willing to admit that they were wrong about George Zimmerman. All right? It's okay to be wrong about things. All right? You don't need to double down. You don't need to dig your fucking heels in. It's all right. You personally, listener, you were wrong. I know about the thing you do, but also you were wrong about George Zimmerman, and that's okay. You've probably gone into an argument with some irritating fucking social justice warrior, and you got all fucking hot under the collar. Is that the correct use of that phrase? Does that mean sexually aroused or like angry? I can never remember. Anyway,
what's the difference?
You got all hot and bothered. All right,
that's sexual.
That's the sexy one. You got all hot under your heels about George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin, and you said he was justified or fucking whatever. It's okay. You were wrong. That person is not here anymore. They're not here to hurt you or make you feel less than. All right? It's just me talking to you, listener. It's okay. You were wrong about George Zimmerman. Just admit it. I will welcome you with open arms.
I'm not being condescending. I'm wrong all the time about many things.
Me too. I've been wrong pretty much every time I talk to my wife. I'm wrong about something. And I'm not saying that to be like a weird asshole. I'm saying that because I really am. A lot of times she has a way of pointing out to me things that I am wrong about. And then it'll be weeks before I'm like, I was really wrong about that thing we talked about.
That 2018, that's what we need to do. We just need to look. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. The important thing is to just, when the whole world tells you you're wrong, just be like, okay, you know what, I was wrong, and we're not going to be dicks about it, and you just need to own it, and we can just move on.
It's okay to be wrong. Everyone has inherent value. Your value does not come from how right you are about things all the time. Well, okay,
let's not talk about inherent value.
Let's not burn any bridges, all right? You are valuable as a human being because you are a human being, and I love you.
Okay. That's Ben quote.
It's not Curtis. Curtis did not. Curtis is staunchly against the inherent worth and value of all human life. He just wants everyone to know that.
Now that edgy teenager corner is over.
Yeah.
Who's next? Where are we?
You.
Me?
That was Get Out. That was my number 5.
Oh, right.
Or that was my number 6. Sorry.
All right. So I guess I will say my next one. I've talked about it a little bit on the podcast, but I have been getting into like speed running and record beating in the video game community all of this year. I think it started back in April, and I've just been obsessed with that dude that plays Guitar Hero really good.
Yeah, that's my number 6.
Randy Ladyman.
Which, great username, by the way.
Yeah, right?
That's his real name. That's on his birth certificate.
I've been watching him on Twitch try to beat records. Like, I started on like, man, this is a novelty. Look how good this kid is at Guitar Hero. And like, I must have just jumped on right at the perfect moment because I'm watching him get better. That's like what's so addicting about it. Like, I watched him like the other night playing, and I'm like, I can't believe I thought him playing fucking One by Metallica at 150% speed was the most insane thing ever, because that's shit compared to what I'm looking at right now. I've been watching that dude a lot, and weirdly every other Guitar Hero like world class player is just fucking annoying, and I hate every single one of them. So,
but Randy Ladyman,
sorry everybody that isn't Randy Ladyman, I fucking can't do it. And then I've been watching those world record progression videos a lot this year of learning different strategies and the names of people who were speedrunners at games. Fascinating stuff. Something I would never ever want to do personally, but I love watching it. I don't know what it is.
Have you ever watched any of those Awesome Games Done Quick streams?
No.
You should check that out next time they do one.
I'm gonna old school write it down.
Yeah, write it down with a pen on paper. It's Awesome Games Done Quick. I think they do that in the winter at some point.
Right.
They might have done it. They might have done it for this winter already. Oh, fuck. But they also do Summer Games Done Quick, so it's a bi-yearly event. big charity drive. People donate, and it like... So it's just speed runs for multiple days. Different speedrunners coming in, sitting down in a room, controller in hand, doing speed runs. And a lot of them talk about what they're doing, too. But then, for certain levels of donations, people can put different restrictions on them.
Oh.
Yeah, so, like, and they kind of put up for bid the restrictions that they're willing to do. So it's like, yeah, I'll beat this game in 30 minutes. Or I'll try to do it one-handed or something. or I'll try to do it with a blindfold on. Yeah.
Nice.
Or just it's a really cool event. I highly recommend you check it out next time it comes around. It's always if you spend any time on any video game related subreddit, it always ends up linked there.
Okay.
Yeah. Or I'll try to shoot you an email when it happens. I'll put it in your Gmail.
Shoot me an electronic letter.
I'll send you a letter in the mail.
Do not text me.
Back to the world of video games, Curtis.
Yes.
It's a video game called Super Lovely Planet.
Okay.
All right. It's a very mysterious developer. It's a Tequila Works or something. I can't remember what the developer's called. But Super Lovely Planet is this really colorful... Oh, okay, let me bring you back. Started out, the first one was like a speed runny sort of shooter, like a first-person shooter, with these really cute and bubbly graphics, right? All you have is like this little plunger gun in your hand, and you shoot like individual bolts out of it, and everything's really colorful but slightly muted, so it has quite a unique look to it. And it's all just big balls rolling around, and you're shooting them, and you're trying to jump over them and get to the end of the level as fast as you can. So when it came time to make a follow-up to to Lovely Planet, which was the original game, the developer decided to make like a speedrun-oriented platformer, 3D platformer. We don't have enough of those, right? It doesn't have any of the open-world elements of your typical modern 3D platformer, but what it does have is just... dozens of really tight, interesting levels that your first time through, you'll beat them in like a couple minutes. But when you get to know your route and you know what's coming up, you can shave that down, right? And it's all about shaving your time down as much as you can. Better and better score, score chasing. I like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right? I like being able to perfect my line through a level. Not every level, but if I play a level in Super Lovely Planet and I really like it, it's like, let's see how fast I can do that.
Yeah.
I think that was a really cool level. Let's see how fast I can do it. So yeah, Super Lovely Planet. One of the best games I played this year.
Awesome. This is my last video game.
All right.
Keeping it in the video game realm.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about the most exciting thing we talk about on this podcast, farming simulators.
Yeah.
A lot of 2017 was just Stardew Valley in my life. I think when I logged on to it today, I have put like 188 hours into that game.
You've surpassed Megan also.
On 2 files though, so I don't know.
Okay,
so she's still, I think, further. She
has
has more progress than I.
Okay.
The first time I played it, I was getting a feel for it. And I didn't pace myself. It becomes the farming simulator games. First of all, I think I mentioned before, they're like impossible to describe in a way that sounds fun to play. That it just sounds like work, and it's awful, and it kind of is. But hey,
but listen, if you actually described what you're actually doing in the average Assassin's Creed game, that sounds like work too. Yeah. The computer put an icon on a map, and I went to it, and I did what the computer told me to do. That's not fun. That's not a game. That's work.
Thank you. You know what? That's a good observation. A good gaming observation for me.
This has been the Good Gaming Observations Corner.
So these farming simulator games, every day in the game, you wake up and you have a certain set of your little responsibilities or your schedule that you keep. You're trying to do your day-to-day responsibilities, and while keeping mind of a long-term goal. You're trying to do this to raise enough money to be able to do this, or you're working on this piece of land so it can have this on it later.
Like, what are some of the goals that you reach toward?
You have to collect things, essentially. So you'll have to grow every type of crop so you can not just achievements. You unlock things in the game by shipping certain numbers of crops, and you can unlock different crops. And this does not sound fun. And there are mines where you can go mining and fight monsters. There's a battle system.
It's like a weird Diablo kind of game.
Yeah,
inside of it.
You kind of just do your stuff every day. And I didn't pace myself well enough the first time. I was so obsessed with just getting money in the game. I would load up as many things as I could do in one day, so that by the time I finished what I had to do, it was time to go to sleep in the game, and then you have to wake up and do it again. So it just became a monotonous, not fun thing. I really paced myself this time, and it allowed me to get further in the game before I hit that point. So I think I'm not done playing it, but I think I really experienced most of what Stardew Valley has to offer. And I think it's a phenomenal game. It really takes all those elements of your classic Harvest Moon and The Sims and Animal Crossing. And Animal Crossing is still good, though. But
Animal Crossing is very different. Consult the episode that we did about that for more advice about Animal Crossing.
And it just, as I've talked about Stardew Valley before, but it just kind of takes those games and says, we all recognize that these games are not as fun as they used to be. Let's just make a new one that has the same characteristics as the old ones. And it worked, and it's a great... I love that game.
Well, it's kind of interesting because not to get too racial here or anything, but there is a unique way that Japanese developers tend to develop games, and they tend to not want to repeat themselves very often, right? Once they've made a game... The same holds true for American developers, but big budget American developers seem a lot more willing to just take the same fundamental game and iterate on it, right? You put new levels in it, or maybe you add something, right? The Revert was the great innovation of one of the Tony Hawk games, for instance, and I think that's very typical of American game design. Whereas Japanese developers, once they make a game, they seem to feel that they've made it fully, so if they make a sequel, it's time to throw a wrench into that shit, right? It's time to fundamentally change the game. And that seems to be what happened to Harvest Moon, is that they made the game they set out to make pretty much right away within the first couple games. They had essentially made the game that it should have been. So every Harvest Moon since then has been let's change shit up. Let's make things weird. Let's focus all our attention on this one little thing that nobody really cares about, but maybe we can make it good. And the issue seems to have been that they just weren't that good at making Harvest Moon games after that.
Yeah.
But they were still tied to this idea of it needs to be new. It needs to be something new, or else why would we make this game? Which I think there's something to be said for that.
Now Harvest Moon is just some sad and terrible Minecraft ripoff, which most games are going to turn into Minecraft ripoffs. So,
and don't forget sad and terrible. Most video games are going to be sad and terrible from this point forward.
Yeah. We should have Old Man Cast where we just bitch about how things used to be better.
We should have a podcast where we talk about the video game writing website Old Man Murray is what we should do. All right, now hear me out. Are you ready for mine?
I am.
Okay. My next one is a video game that after this year is very near and dear to my heart. It's Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah.
That was one of my biggest games of the year. And that came out, 2009? 2008, 2009, around then? So we're going on 10 years since that game came out, and it's still impressive as hell. Especially in the context of the earlier Fallout games. It feels like a true, maybe the only true successor to Fallout 1 and 2 that exists. And those games do something that other open world RPGs just don't. Maybe it's because they take place in what is ostensibly our world, just a wildly different post-apocalyptic alternative universe version of our world, but still our world. The people that are in that world are recognizable as people from the actual world that we live in, and maybe for whatever reason, Fallout, in particular Fallout New Vegas, it feels like it has a lot to say about human nature and the way that you should conduct yourself in the world.
Yeah.
I've lost my voice during that little tirade, but...
We're both losing our voices. Let's see. I really only have kind of one thing left to talk about, and it's a pretty big one. So,
all right.
Do you want to
Go through a couple more of mine.
A couple of yours.
All right, my next one is another video game called Everything. It's a game in which you can play as everything.
You told me about this, and
I talked about it on the podcast, I think.
Yeah, this is fascinating. I never played it because I don't really play games, but I just lied to you because I have like 8 games on here. But I don't play new games.
Everything is an amazing work of art. Most games are art to some degree, but Everything is primarily and purposefully a work of art, while also being a very fun game to just dick around in. You know, you can create some pretty insane panoramas in this game, but you can also create just small moments, right? I'm a cow, now I'm a tree. Now I'm a rock looking at the cow and tree that I just was. Now I'm the planet upon which the rock, tree, and cow exist. Now I'm the solar system in which that planet exists. Now I'm the fucking galaxy in which that solar system exists. Now I'm the 4th dimensional shape in which that galaxy consists of part of it. And then I go up another level, and then now I'm something's fucking DNA. It's crazy. Crazy fun.
This may be something that I should not admit on a podcast, but that reminds me of when I was in college, when I was very stressed out. I don't know if this is weird or not. Probably not. But we do it and we're proud. We love
we do it. We do it and love it. We're not ashamed.
Do you ever have... I don't even know how to describe it. So when you're stressed out, do you have like things you fall back on that you can like walk yourself through?
Like mind patterns?
Yeah.
Yeah. The litany against fear from Dune. That's the nerdiest thing I'll ever admit on this podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I developed this in college, and it's something that I do when I'm stressed out. And like I said, this is probably fucking super lame to admit. But like I would be in my bed with all the lights out, trying to go to sleep and not being able to sleep because I was super fucking stressed out. Mm-hmm. And I started to tell myself, this was like my fucking road to fucking Curt becoming Curt today. I would tell myself, you are just like, you're a dude in a bed in a little box, surrounded by other boxes of people in their beds, and those boxes are all in one big box, which is surrounded by other boxes of people in boxes on beds, and it just keeps going. None of it fucking matters. It's all worthless. Like, who gives a shit? And then I'd lull myself to sleep, going down this, like, well, what's one thing bigger than that? Mm-hmm. And every step that it gets bigger, the less significant you and your problems become.
It sounds like you cobbled together a meditative strategy.
I think I had to get through college somehow.
Yeah.
And that I like. I've never played this game. I've never played Everything, but that reminds me of that. And there's I instantly associate the ability to step back and look at the bigger picture with like a peaceful, like, that's what I do when I'm fucking stressed out. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like this is something I do need to make myself experience.
I think you would like it. Yeah, well, what you're describing there, and what I've been doing some reading about Zen meditation recently, about Zazen, Zen Buddhism, and one of the things that you read a lot about when you're reading about Zen is the idea of eliminating attachment. So it sounds like what you were doing and that's one good way to think about anxiety, is that you become overly attached to one object or a set of objects, or kind of like a theoretical object that holds in your mind. Like, and the way to get past that attachment is just to break it down and realize that attachment is illusory, right? That you're not really all the stuff in this room. You're attached to the stuff in this room, right? You have little metaphysical links that link you to every single one of those little Ninja Turtle figures and every comic book on that wall and every DVD. It's all objects to which you have an attachment. And the way you cope with that attachment, you personally, it seems to be to organize them, right? Which is a very valid way of, and it results in a showroom, right? Mm-hmm. Which is a lovely thing to have. It's a fun hobby, and it seems to be rewarding. But at the base of that is this attachment, right? You've taken the attachment and you've figured out a way to cope with it. The other thing you could do is to take that attachment and eliminate it, right? But either one, it all depends on your own circumstances. But I don't know where I'm going with this. That's what that made me think of, is this idea of attachment, and that what you developed seems to be a way of, like, an ad hoc way just to deal with your stress and anxiety, an ad hoc way of putting your attachment to the situation that you're in into a context that allows you to break that attachment. Because when you say none of it really matters, it doesn't seem like you're saying that in a nihilistic way. It seems like you're saying it as in, like, this doesn't matter so much that I need to worry about it this much. It's not worth this.
Yeah.
Right? Or maybe you were saying it in a nihilistic way. I don't know. Whatever. Who can say?
I dance on this line of nihilism where...
Dancing on the line of nihilism is the title of this episode, by the way.
I feel like I would be a nihilist if I cared enough to learn about nihilism. I don't want to read philosophy books just to figure out another fucking adjective for myself. Anyway.
Don't be a nihilist. It's not rad. My next thing is another movie called 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. I don't know if I mentioned this on the show. We did.
Talk about, and I then saw a trailer for it after that, and it looked sick.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real thrill ride of emotions, though, is the thing. This guy, I believe his name is Martin McDonagh. He's a playwright from Ireland, and he writes these incredible morality plays about ordinary people. His first film was In Bruges. I don't know if you saw that one.
No.
In Bruges is about these, like, 2 hitmen who go to Bruges, the town Bruges in Europe. It's in a country also, but I don't remember what country it's in. And they discover why they were sent there, right? And one of them has done something that he feels very badly about. So you watch his process of coming to terms with it. And it's a messy process, man. It's real. It's all about... I think it can be easy to put morality in a box and say, like, this is right and this is wrong, and there is a very clear line between them. But the truth of the matter, even if you can say, I personally believe that there is this line between right and wrong and that it's important to maintain this line, which I do say that, by the way, I'm still open to the idea that some people would take something that I think is right and say, no, that's wrong. Or take something that I say is wrong and say, no, that's right. And what Martin McDonagh does so brilliantly, especially in 3 Billboards, is take normal-ass people who do not seem out of place in the least in some shitty little town in Missouri that's dying out. He takes these people and he puts them in situations where, like, I'm pretty sure I know how I feel about what they do, but you can talk about it forever. You can take any character from this movie and say, what do you think about what they did in this moment? Do you think that was right, or do you think that was wrong? And it's clearly set up for that to be the conversation about it. And it's also set up to be a rewarding and interesting conversation about what happens to these characters. But it doesn't feel contrived in the same way that a less fluent work might feel contrived. I really can't say enough good stuff about this movie. And I'm not going to describe the plot. Go watch a fucking trailer. It's called 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. The trailer will tell you everything that you should know about this movie. It's a great, great movie. Probably the best movie I saw this year. Wow.
Better than War for the Poda?
No, War for the Poda was very good. This one also has Woody Harrelson in it, though. He's amazing in it.
Wow.
Yeah. Very different type of character in this
Very
movie.
Different type of amazing.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Are you ready for my number 1?
I'm ready, and then I'll do my number 1 after that.
So, shortly after we talked about doing our 2017 review, I was thinking, for visual media, like, what have I been up to this year? And I was thinking, because it came about because I had said, like, I haven't even played 10 video games this year. And then we talked about, and I think you had said you hadn't seen 10 new movies this year. Mm-hmm. So this was your idea to just do our own year in review. And really, the only thing that has been consistent and, like, dominated this whole year has been this podcast and my other podcast that I do. We talked about it last week, but it's hard for me to believe that this show is only 1 year old now. It's like a year and like 3 days old. And I don't know how much we've talked about or shown, behind the curtain, but when I moved, like when I was working on my old podcast stuff, in the old Conquered Kingdoms days, Dalton and I kept moving further and further away, and it was harder to, get together and harder to make things. And we took kind of a long break, and I had to face this challenge of, like, Dalton was our editor, and he was a very good editor, and I had to, like, I have all this podcast equipment, and I said, if I want to do podcasts, I have to learn how to do it myself, or anything that I want to do, I have to have at least more of an understanding of it than I ever have before. I used to be able to just, like, have ideas, and that was enough. And so the first episode of Ben and Curt Till It Hurts that we did, it wasn't even called Ben and Curt Till It Hurts, and I think you came on. Do you remember the details in which I asked you to come on? Because they're a little hazy to me.
No, I think it was just like, hey, do you want to? I've been thinking about this. Do you want to come on and talk about albums?
I think that was it. I think I just needed somebody to do it with, and in my head, like, I had thought it would be cool to do a podcast with you, but you never really know until you do one.
Yeah.
And I remember when you left and that episode was done, I was like, that was good. I really enjoyed that, and I think that was a very good episode. And I showed it to a few people before I put it online, and everybody was like, no, that was good. That was really good. And so it's so hard to believe that was just a year ago.
Yeah.
And now in this year, this is like almost episode 30 of Ben and Curt Till It Hurts. I've been doing Black Gold Podcast. I did the Horror Hounds thing, which was one of the most fun things I've ever done. And, like, within Ben and Curt Till It Hurts, like, I got to re-experience all the Tarantino films in a way that I never got to experience them before.
My real favorite movies of this year are mostly Quentin Tarantino movies.
I mean, Texorcism was born out of Ben and Curt Till It Hurts.
Yep.
Shout out again to Casey.
Thanks, Casey.
And a lot of great guests have been on this show that I had never had before, and it was just, I'm so happy within just such a short amount of time how much we've done. And some of the ideas that we've had, not to, like, toot my own horn, but you and I have come up with some very good ideas over this past year. And that was really, like, out of everything I've done this year, podcasting has really kind of been at the forefront, and everything that I've experienced, for the most part, was related to, I have to do this because we're doing it on the podcast. Or, I learned of it by way of you because you were talking to me because we were doing a podcast. And that really has kind of, that was big. That was my biggest thing this year for sure. And we have our little, like, idea notebook, and I'm really excited to, like, I'm afraid we're not going to be able to come up with ideas that I like as much as Texorcism, or watch movies that I think are as good as Tarantino movies. But 2018 should be pretty sweet. I think we're gonna.
If we take 2017 as our model and make, like, strategic and targeted improvements to that, it's going to be fucking tight.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're already pretty good.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I feel very proud of what we've done.
Now we just need to get people to listen to it.
Yep, I'm working on it. I've got some Twitter strats.
All right.
Got some Twitter strategies. Hey, if you discovered this show by reading about it on Twitter, on the Ben and Curt Twitter account, thank you for doing that.
Thank you, new listeners.
Yes.
Old listeners, thanks, I guess.
Thank you, too.
We're really just trying to get that new crowd in. Those young kids. Those are where the numbers come
young
from.
Young kids, listen, write to us, all right? We will change anything and everything about this show. Do you want this just to be a Minecraft stream? Yeah. We'll do it.
Tomorrow, I'll take it there.
I'll start.
Grown-ups have a tendency to be more responsible than children, and I know that grown-ups are not going to run way past their cell phone data plan streaming our shows. Kids will do that.
Kids will do that. That's what we want. That's the crowd we want. That's what we're courting.
What we're shooting for.
Yeah.
And then from there, phase 3 will be to eliminate racism and xenophobia in the online gaming community.
Yeah.
We're going to take to the Minecraft streaming.
Yep.
And then we're going to
That is where it comes from. It's really weird, but that is where it comes from. Do you know how many teens are racist because PewDiePie told them it was funny? Thousands.
And
tens of thousands.
I will never not give PewDiePie the credit he deserves for racism. But I remember learning about PewDiePie and thinking it was fucking weird. And I've been playing online games since before that, and there has been rampant racism from even before PewDiePie. So
that's true.
As much as I hate PewDiePie,
that's true.
I've been called the N-word many a time playing true. Left 4 Dead, circa 2010.
Yeah, that's true. All right, that's a good point. All right, are
we
ready?
That's mine.
Well, that's mine. Mine's gonna sound shitty after that.
Awesome games done quick. I can't forget that.
Don't crumple up that paper dramatically. My number 1 is Spelunky.
Oh, taking it back to episode 1.
I beat Spelunky this year.
You beat it?
Yeah, I beat it this year. And I feel amazing about that.
That is great.
That's a game that I've been playing since when it came out on PC. I've been playing that game. It was one of the first games in my Steam account.
Wow.
And I've been playing it off and on since then. And this year, I finally buckled down and told myself, "No, you're good enough.
You can do this.
You can do this. You're good enough at video games. You can beat Spelunky." And I did it.
I'm still pretty new to Steam. I've figured out how to download games I want to play and do that. I'm like an old man with a smartphone. Yeah, poking it really hard. That's a page out of my mom's book. Every time she fucking touches the screen. Anyway, shout out to Mom. We know you're listening, Mom. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. I like when I'm playing Stardew Valley and I'll get my little notification that you're playing Spelunky, and I'm like, yeah, he is.
still happening.
He's back. 6:30 p.m. Ben should be here any minute now. There he is.
You know my schedule. Yeah. But yeah, hey, that's
Spelunky.
It's a wonderful game. It means a lot to me. And hey, this past year was the year that Spelunky 2 was announced. So
I gotta catch up.
You gotta catch up. You gotta do Spelunky.
Yeah. We'll make a Spelunky stream.
We should make a Spelunky stream.
We'll
people fucking do that. I have shit set up at my house that we could stream on.
We should. It's 2017, and because of Randy Ladyman, I figured out how to use Twitch this year. And...
Yep. Thank you, Randy Ladyman. We know you're listening.
Yeah. That's 2017, man.
2017. It was a good year.
Media-wise. The weird thing. Mm-hmm. Whenever I have to get this off now that you've said it was a good year.
Get this off your chest.
The past I will say 3 years, my personal life has been getting better and better and better, and I feel like the cultural climate in America has been getting worse and worse and worse. And it's a real... I'm glad things in my life are pretty good, but it's a weird, cognitive dissonance to have, personally, things are great, but every time I look at the news, I'm like, this isn't good. I can't look at the news anymore. Yeah. But do I be willfully ignorant of what's going on around me? That's what I'm going to do. That's my new plan this year.
Willful ignorance.
I have not... The date is the 10th. I have not been on the politics subreddit yet this year.
Good.
Oh, good. Dude, it's so good. I don't have a clue what's going on.
You're free.
Yeah.
Welcome to life, man. Disconnect.
I'm just gonna... Those midterms come, just gonna vote blue. Not even think about it. Just flip some seats and we'll see what fucking happens.
It's time for a change.
Anyway.
All right.
What are we doing next week, Ben?
Next week, we're watching John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah, I'm excited because we were going to get into this. We didn't get a chance to a couple weeks ago, so it's like one of my favorite movies of all time, so I'm stoked to watch it again.
One of my favorite movies of all time, too.
I hope you listeners are. You should watch it again because there's a lot to be seen in that movie. You can't watch it once and have an understanding.
Yeah.
And, plus, you're even deeper into the winter funk now.
Dead of fucking winter.
It's fucking cold out.
Yeah.
So we'll be doing that next week. Ben, let the cat out of the bag. Spilled the beans out of the bag.
Yep. I was so excited about it, I couldn't hold it in anymore. After The Thing.
Yeah, we'll do our David Lynch series.
David Lynch. We're going to go through all his movies. Do we want to do one movie per episode? I think that's the way to do it.
I think that's probably the way to do it. We'll do a little further planning because I know at the very least, like, maybe we'll figure out what we're going to talk about. I don't even know enough about his career to, like, are we going to talk about Twin Peaks? Like, are we going to talk about, like...
No, just the films.
Just the films? So,
just the films. Maybe we'll do Twin Peaks separately at some other point.
Yeah. And I didn't
Twin
know
Peaks is a big old project.
If there were any that... I don't know if there are any that, like, oh, well, maybe we don't need to talk about that one. Like, I don't have a clue.
The closest would probably be the Dune adaptation that he did. But we're definitely doing the Dune adaptation that he did.
That's next on my list. So
yep.
We'll be doing, what is it, Eraserhead?
Eraserhead first, then Elephant Man, I believe.
Elephant Man, yeah, and then Dune.
Yep, and then probably Blue Velvet.
Yeah.
Mulholland Drive, Lost Highway, those kind of 90s movies.
There's something about that has the word heart in the title.
Oh, Wild at Heart, the Nicolas Cage one.
Yeah.
Yep, that one's in the mix too.
But, next week's The Thing, and then the week after that will be Eraserhead, so...
Yep.
Please brace yourselves if you've never seen Eraserhead.
Kurt's watched it hundreds of times, so he knows what he's talking about.
I will say... I don't need you to say it now.
We're going to get to it.
We're going to get out of here. As always, you can listen to more Ben and Curt Till It Hurts and Black Gold Podcast by subscribing to Black Gold Podcast on iTunes and Stitcher. You can also stream it from Buzzsprout or YouTube. If you're a listener of the show, please give us a rating or drop us a review on iTunes. It helps the show a lot, and we really appreciate it. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Snups, everything, essentially, at KurtCake5K. Oh, Spotify as well. I made a sweet Wu-Tang Clan playlist, Wu-Tang Wednesdays 2018. We're going to be listening to a lot of Wu-Tang Clan. You can follow Ben and Curt Till It Hurts on Twitter at Ben_and_Curt.
Yep. Look for more activity from that Twitter feed in the near future. And, I got plans.
You know what I'm trying to push this year is I really want people to check out the YouTube channel. We have a presence on YouTube.
Yes.
We're doing pretty good with it. Throw some comments on there. Get in a fight. Yeah, when's the last time someone said something racist about you?
Fucking go brigading on YouTube comments.
Yeah, get in a fight with somebody about John Carpenter's The Thing in a couple weeks. You can fight over what the ending means.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week to talk about John Carpenter's The Thing. Bye.
See you then.